themselves a leader, says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now.
The governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs.
Playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish.
And I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to him.
And it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
Every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive.
Why the two different messages? You never see that out of the system. Two different messages? System speaks with one voice. What's going on? Is there trouble in the palace? Joining me now, my friend Jack Posobiec, author of many things, but now his new book is called Bulletproof, which is freaking cool. Jack, okay, Joe, Kamala Harris, it's obvious you've been talking about this forever, sources about tension between the two camps, but is Joe Biden trying to torpedo Kamala Harris?
Oh, Jesse, 100%. And in fact, this is something that we get into a lot in Bulletproof because we go into the palace coup about how Joe Biden was removed from the presidential race and essentially had his own presidency ended, stunted, aborted, if you will, something Democrats are big fans of. In the midst of the campaign. Remember, Joe Biden's co-chair came out on the morning of July 21st and said on Meet the Press, on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan, that he would still be running and that he was the nominee. Well, it turns out that was not to be. So because later in the day, a random Twitter account put up the letter from him, which was unsigned, saying that he would be dropping from the race. We got no video evidence from Joe Biden or Jill or anyone for almost a full week after this. What's really going on? Joe Biden was forced out like Khrushchev back in the 1960s when he was vacationing down on the Black Sea, and they pulled him in to talk about agricultural reports. No, this is exactly what they've done. And so Biden is now responding back with something that I call Jill's revenge. And we've seen a series, a pattern now that has emerged of Biden. Think of it. Biden puts on the Trump hat. Then Biden holds press conferences, two of which, including one of the ones that you just played, occurred during Kamala Harris either events or as the one that just happened the other day, she was on The View, and then Biden calls a press conference to directly undercut her while she's on The View and responding to her saying that DeSantis hasn't been in communication. He says he's been in great communication. Look, Biden and Jill have been in this game for a very, very long time. They know exactly what they're doing. And of course, he's also going around saying, oh, she's in lockstep with me. She's doing everything that we can together. She's made all the decisions with me. He's doing everything he can to embrace her because he knows that the party views him as toxic. The country really views him as toxic. And he's doing whatever he can to essentially become a kamikaze to torpedo her chances going in. This is the White House shade war. It's been going on for 3.5 years, and now it is fully hot.
Okay, so I'm gonna get some clarification on a couple details here. You have been talking to us about the tension between Jill Biden specifically and Kamala Harris, those two camps, and okay, we got that. But Joe Biden, he did have a palace coup done on him. He was removed from re-election, but it wasn't done by Kamala Harris. I realized she was kind of a player. She was the heir apparent, but this was run by Nancy Pelosi. Everybody really knows that. So why the animosity towards Harris? Or is it really just a screw it, I'm taking my ball, going home, and I'm burning everything down on my way out the door? Why the ire towards Dome is what I want to know.
Well, it's essentially what you're saying there. So yes, that's true. Kamala wasn't really one of the one pulling the strings or pressing the levers when it came to this. It was Nancy Pelosi and the Obama family as well. Michelle, just as much as Barack, probably even more so than Barack Obama, were intricately involved in this. And something that a lot of people don't know is that Hunter Biden's former wife was also close friends with Michelle Obama. So this was something that had always been a huge falling out between the two of them and between the two families. And so there's no love lost between them whatsoever. Remember, Barack Obama never even invited Joe Biden into the residence during their 8 years together in the White House. And so passing him over, look, Obama passed over Joe Biden in early 2016 when Biden was trying to run for president. And Obama said, no, we're going to go with Hillary Clinton this time around because you are going to mess things up. Let me euphemistically put it that way. So what Biden is responding to is this feeling of he's been passed over, that he's always been overlooked, that he's always the one that's being undercut by everybody else. And so he's in full-on burn it down mode, Joker mode, Heath Ledger Joker, not the current one. And he wants to just watch the world burn right now. And that's exactly what's going on.
Okay, Jack, I'm sorry, I hate to keep rewinding, but you're such a great source of information for this stuff. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, the tensions between those two have been known by people in political circles for a long time. What I've never actually been completely clear about is why. I realize Joe is an idiot and a bit of a boob at times, and I get all those things, but Barack Obama, a committed America-hating communist, Joe Biden didn't hold him back from those plans. What's the deal with those two?
Well, it really comes down to the idea that Barack Obama has no respect for him whatsoever. Keep in mind, this is the guy who looks at the United States ruling class and certainly in terms of race, certainly in terms of history as something that needs to be overtaken and overthrown. And so Joe Biden, having been there since the 1970s, to Barack Obama, he's just part of that old political class. And sir, they used him as a means to an end through the vice presidency and through the time when he was on the ticket, because he was supposed to be this balancing act. You have this radical junior senator from Illinois who's only been around for a couple of years, suddenly running for president. And so it's it speaks to a broader tension within the party right now, the Democrat Party, where you have the older moderates. These were the types that went for the union votes. Again, Joe Biden, Scranton Joe, right, going for the working class voters, the union types. Tim Walz is trying to do the same thing right now, by the way. But then with Barack Obama and Kamala Harris, you've got people that are deeply in this, as you say, America-hating progressive lane. And they're trying to use people like Tim Walz and Joe Biden to basically paint over what it is they're actually all about.
Okay, let's go back to the Kamala versus Dome war. Did things get physical between Joe Biden and Kamala staffers? You mentioned this shade war. Talk to us about how deep this soap opera goes.
Yeah, so there was a report that I got a couple of weeks ago where essentially they were saying that now, keep in mind, this situation happened after Joe's press room briefing, which was totally by surprise. When Joe Biden has never graced the James Brady press room of the White House up until that point, I guess about a week and a half ago now here. And he's never given a press conference like that from the White House. He's never popped in. Then all of a sudden, he pops in one the other day and begins undercutting Kamala Harris. This led to, again, according to a White House source, a White House official, led to a physical altercation between the camps, between Team B and Team K within the White House, essentially actually getting physical. And we're told that that some members of the White House staff had to get involved to break them apart. Now, nothing overly physical, no hospital visits or anything like that. But it actually got so bad that the Kamala staffers were screaming that you are undercutting us. You are doing everything you can to block us down and get in our way. That eventually they came in and just lost it. And they came in saying, we are going to fight you. And because ultimately, Jesse, they know they're getting desperate. They know they're getting desperate, and the wheels are absolutely coming off for Kamala Harris. Her staff is feeling it as well. Whereas the Biden team is kind of saying, well, told you so.
Oh, that had to be the most effeminate fight in history. Whether it was dudes or chicks, I could just see the slapping and things going on in there. It had to be hilarious.
Yeah,
of course,
like
nobody
said,
went to the hospital.
No hospital visits.
Yeah, so somebody broke a nail or something. All right. How bad is it, Jack, inside the Kamala Harris camp. I know what I want, right? I want a resounding Trump victory. I want these people destroyed. Everyone knows what I want. I don't want to look at it through my biased glasses. I am hearing a lot of panic from that camp. Am I hearing right?
Well, that is what you're hearing. Look, their internals have them down with working class whites, working class Hispanics, working class blacks. They're up really, it's college educated and super college educated whites, so post-grad or PhDs, and then single women, essentially. Single women is who they're with. And so you've got people like Lorraine Voles there. I'm just looking at my notes here. Lorraine Voles, the chief of staff of Kamala Harris, is now telling media contacts really on background, saying things that like, she's not going to come in, we're not going to pardon Hunter Biden, and, we need to deny this all the way, that the relationship is over. The buddy-buddy relationship with DeSantis after, trying to bury the hatchet with that whole thing has busted everything open. Something where even I'm being told that Kamala Harris even referred to Biden as an a-hole, not even just a few nights ago. And so this thing is totally blown up because look, you're just looking at a campaign. Again, by the way, Jesse, these are all issues that usually come out in a primary. When you have a primary for an election, you have like there was a primary on the Republican side, that these are things that shake out people. They combat, they go to debates, they do the various media hits, et cetera, they go through that. Kamala Harris never had any of this. 14 million votes were just shoved down the toilet drain. And so instead of that, you get this candidate who was never supposed to be there, trying to pretend like she knows what she's doing, and she simply doesn't. Again, the bigger and more important thing for us to understand, though, is that you're looking at a regime. You're looking at a regime that has done these things. Kamala Harris didn't decide to be there the same way she didn't decide to be vice president. She was chosen because of the George Floyd moment, because back in 2020, they knew they couldn't have a white woman like Klobuchar or Whitmer, who Biden was initially planning to put there because they had that Midwestern appeal. Instead, he said, you know what, I got to go with the black woman or the black/mixed woman from California. That's why she was there. She is ultimately a DEI hire. And now the regime says, well, Joe Biden's got a screw loose. We're going to pull him out. Forget about those 14 million votes. We are going to install the candidate that we have decided. So you're not just looking at a campaign in free fall. You're looking at a regime in free fall. And people really need to understand that we don't live in a democracy. We don't live in a constitutional republic right now. We live in an oligarchy.
What a tangled web we weave. All right, before I let you go, real quick, Jack, bulletproof. Tell us about it quickly.
Well, so we get into all of this in Bulletproof. We talk about not just the history of Thomas Matthew Crooks and Ryan Wesley Ralph, but we talk about the fact that how could there be 12 independent security failures all occurring on the same day that a malicious gunman is trying to murder President Trump? And then we simply ask the question, well, what if they weren't security failures? What if instead the point of a system is what it does? And what if the plan was not to secure President Trump in either of these instances, including, by the way, when he was down at his West Palm Beach golf course at Trump International? What if the plan was to unsecure President Trump? And if the plan, the goal, the intention was to unsecure President Trump, then it was a mission success. The only failure was that Ryan Wesley Ralph ran away and Thomas Wesley Crooks was not able to aim center mass. These essential problems, and by the way, I was just at the Butler rally this past weekend, met Corey Compatore's family, who, by the way, was murdered by Thomas Wesley Crooks. And people seem to have completely forgotten about this fact, that there was someone that he didn't miss. And there were people who went home missing one family member from that event and from that rally. You won't hear that in the mainstream media. You won't hear that anywhere. And Kamala says that Trump doesn't care about people. I'm like, excuse me, he just put somebody in the ground, right? They just had to have a funeral for this guy, essentially, and the Ave Maria and the opera singing, and then they're going to come around and say this wasn't done. No. Jesse, the fact that we don't have any answers on this, the fact that the FBI isn't telling us, the DHS isn't telling us, and the Secret Service isn't telling us, has led us to launch our own independent investigation where we've hired private investigators on our own, by our own dime. Basically, we're using the book sales to promote this thing and continue it forward so that we are conducting shoe leather investigations, going door to door, Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, where this guy lived, Butler, Pennsylvania, and I don't know, maybe we'll even have to send people all the way to Ukraine, it turns out, because you got a Ukrainian foreign fighter who tried to kill President Trump. That's the Bulletproof Project, and that's why we're doing this right now.
He is Jack Posobiec. The book is Bulletproof. Jack, thank you, my brother. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.